Alright, so welcome to this new series where we're going to build a multiplayer racing game, but with a twist, it's going to be a kind of card-based racing game, a mix that I think can be really fun, but also really interesting to develop. The goal of this series is pretty simple. I want to take this idea all the way to a real release on Steam while sharing the entire development process with you. That means showing everything step by step, and also sharing the project files, so you can follow along and learn with me. Now, in this first episode, I want to focus on setting up the project, and more importantly, since one of the main goals of this series is to test AI coding agents, we're going to start by preparing everything around that. Just to be clear, I don't think AI models are here to replace artists, and I don't think a predictive model can ever really have something like artistic intent. So the idea here is not to let AI create the game for us, but to use it for what it's actually good at, generating code. We'll be the ones making the design decisions, defining the vision, and guiding the process. The AI will just help us execute faster. And honestly, I think this can be a really powerful tool, especially for designers or artists who have great ideas, but feel limited by programming. For context, I've been working as a programmer for over 3 years now, including real game development environments, so I've seen both sides. And I really believe this kind of workflow can open a lot of doors. Also, this series is heavily inspired by the channel Mythmatic. If you don't know it, I'll leave a link in the description. He's doing something very similar using Claude, and his content is honestly amazing. I've learned a lot from his videos, so this is kind of my way of contributing with my own approach. In my case, I won't be using Claude. One of the goals of this channel is to explore tools that make programming more accessible, and paying around €200 per month just isn't realistic for most people, including me. So I'll mainly be using Codex, although you'll probably see me switching between different models. As for the IDE, I'll be using antigravity most of the time. Alright, with that said, let's get into it. So first, we're going to create a new Unity project. Since Unity 6.5 was released recently, we'll use that version, we'll go with the URP template, and very important, we'll connect it to Unity Cloud because we'll need multiplayer features later on. Once the project is created, the first thing we need to do is install the package that allows Unity to recognize antigravity as a code editor. I already have a video on the channel explaining this in detail, but it's actually very simple. You just go to the URL I'll leave in the description, copy the link, then in Unity, go to Window, Package Management, Package Manager, in the top left corner, click the plus icon, and choose Add Package from Get URL. Paste the link there. When the package finishes importing, go to Edit Preferences, External Tools, and if everything is set up correctly, you should see anti-gravity in the dropdown. Select it, and that's it. Now, for the AI to work properly, I'll be using the Unity MCP. I also have another video explaining how to install it with Codex, but again, it's pretty straightforward and works with any AI. You go to the GitHub repo, which I'll also leave in the description. Copy the link, then repeat the same process in the package manager using Add Package from Get URL. After importing, you might see a dependencies window. If it doesn't show up, that means you already have everything installed. If it does, you can check my other video where I explain how to resolve it. Once everything is ready, go to Window, MCP for Unity, and toggle the MCP window, or just press Ctrl-Shift-M. This opens the MCP panel. First, we start the server. This will open a command prompt that connects our AI agents to Unity, allowing them to interact directly with the editor. Just click Start Server and wait until everything turns green. Then in the Client section, you should also see a green indicator if everything is configured. If not, just click Configure, select your AI agent from the dropdown, and it should set everything up automatically. You'll also see a button called Install Skills. This is something relatively new. Just click it, and it will install a set of instructions for your AI. Basically, these skills are just text files that tell the AI how to use specific tools properly. In this case, they explain how to interact with Unity through MCP without making mistakes. If you're curious, you can actually open these files and read them, but we won't go into detail here. Alright, so at this point, we're almost ready to start working with AI, but before that, I want to introduce something really important, the AGENTS.md file. If you've used tools like Cursor before, this is similar to what used to be called rules.md. It's basically a file that gets automatically included in every interaction with the AI without needing to explicitly reference it. This means you can define rules, constraints, or instructions that the AI should always follow. It's incredibly useful to avoid common mistakes or enforce certain standards, like how you want your code to be written. So let's go into anti-gravity and create one. Make sure to create the file in the root of the project, not inside any folder, and name it exactly AGENTS.md in my case. I like to divide it into two parts. First, general instructions about how I want the agent to behave, and second, Unity-specific rules to prevent common issues. For example, I explicitly tell the agent that this is a Unity project, and it should treat it as such. I also tell it to use the Unity MCP whenever possible for validation. And something very important, I force it to always use the new input system. AI models are trained on a lot of old code, so they tend to default to the legacy input system, which won't work properly in newer Unity versions. Then I have some more general behavior rules. One of my favorites is the self-improvement loop. Basically, if I correct the agent and it fixes a mistake, I ask it to store that lesson in a file inside a tasks folder. That way, when we start a new session, it can read those past mistakes and avoid repeating them. It's a really simple idea, but it can make a big difference over time. Another interesting rule is encouraging the use of subagents. From my testing, the AI doesn't always prioritize this, and I'm not entirely sure why, but when it does, it's extremely useful. For example, if the agent needs to find a file in the project, instead of scanning everything itself and filling up the context, it can delegate that task to a subagent. The subagent just returns the result, and we save both context space and tokens, and yeah, that's pretty much my setup. So with all of this ready, we're finally prepared to start working with AI in Unity. I'm going to leave it here for this video. In the next episode, we'll start building the initial project structure and install some of the packages we'll need. I hope this was useful and that you can follow along with the series. I'll leave a link to my Patreon in the description, where I'll be uploading the full project files so you can download everything and experiment on your own. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.